The vast expanse of the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with a low, continuous murmur, echoing the complex harmonics of hundreds of species that made up the Galactic Empire. These beings, some covered in iridescent scales, others sporting multiple appendages or tendrils, were representatives of advanced civilizations spanning thousands of star systems. Their collective gaze was often fixed on matters of trade, territorial disputes, and technological exchanges, ensuring the smooth operation of a vast, multi-galactic federation. Rarely did they face situations that their combined might and wisdom could not manage. On this particular galactic cycle, however, the Council Chamber's routine proceedings were disrupted by an unprecedented event. A single human, clad in a simple worn spacesuit patched more times than one could count, had somehow bypassed the extensive security protocols and stood defiantly before the Council. This human, Commander Alyssa Kane, was not a diplomat, nor did she carry the typical air of gravitas that her position might suggest. Instead, her presence was that of a battle-hardened warrior, with scars both physical and mental, carrying a weight that silenced the room. "Esteemed leaders of the Galactic Empire," Alyssa began, her voice amplified to resonate across the vast chamber, "I come before you not with diplomacy, but with a warning. As the representative of the human coalition, I am authorized to speak on behalf of Earth and its colonies. For centuries, you have overlooked us, underestimated us, and disregarded our capabilities. Today, that changes." Her words hung heavily in the atmosphere, as a live translation feed allowed every member of the Council to absorb the full weight of her message in their native tongues. The various leaders shifted uneasily, their discomfort evident as they whispered among themselves. Humans were known to the Galactic Empire, but merely as a young peripheral species on the edge of the galactic frontier. Hardly a threat, hardly worth serious consideration. Alyssa continued, her gaze steely and unwavering. "We have watched as our worlds were encroached upon, our resources exploited, and our people taken for your experiments. We have reached out with requests for dialogue, for treaties, and for peace. All have been ignored. No more." She paused, allowing her words to permeate every corner of the room. Then her tone hardened. "Your worlds will burn. This is not a threat, but a promise. If the Galactic Empire does not cease its incursions and start treating humanity as equals, we will retaliate. We will not go quietly into the annihilation you seem to reserve for lesser species." A gasp rippled through the Council. The idea of a human threat was almost ludicrous, but there was something in Commander Kane's tone, a certain desperation mixed with undeniable resolve that could not be dismissed outright. "Our engineers have developed weapons that can pierce your shields. Our scientists have devised plagues that target non-human DNA, and our strategists have mapped out the vulnerabilities of your key worlds," Alyssa declared, revealing the depth of human ingenuity driven by survival. "Consider this our sole warning. Reconsider your stance on humanity. Engage with us as equals or face the consequences." As she finished her speech, Alyssa turned on her heel and left the chamber, her message delivered, leaving a wake of stunned silence. The representatives of the Galactic Empire were left to ponder the implications. Was this a bluff, a desperate ploy, or had humanity truly prepared to wage a war that could engulf the galaxy? In the high echelons of power, the threat would be analyzed, strategies would be devised, and decisions that could alter the course of galactic history would be made. But one thing was clear. Humanity had thrown down the gauntlet, and as news of Commander Kane's audacious threat reached the distant planet of Virelia, the serene atmosphere among its High Council was shattered. Virelia, a hub of technological innovation and a strategic ally in the Galactic Empire, was bustling with activity. In the Central Command Center, under the glow of hovering holographic displays, General Tavan Sylar, a figure revered for his tactical acumen, summoned his top advisors for an emergency session. "Begin immediate surveillance on all human sectors," General Sylar commanded, his voice as calm as the surface of Virelia's great tranquil seas, yet with an undercurrent of urgency. "We need to assess their capabilities realistically. I want every piece of intel on their military assets within the cycle." The room hummed with the low whir of machines as data streamed in from across the galaxy. Images of human military installations, fleet compositions, and encrypted communications filled the screens. Varelian analysts worked feverishly, their tentacle-like appendages moving deftly over control surfaces. Meanwhile, on a research station orbiting a desolate moon in the Outer Rim, Dr. Lyra Malin, a xenobiologist, scrolled through the genetic sequences displayed on her terminal. The threat of bioweapons targeting non-human DNA had shaken the core of the Empire's scientific community. Could they really have tailored a virus to target us specifically? Dr. Malin pondered aloud. Her assistant, a young and eager scientist named Jor-El, replied, Theoretically, yes. Our genetic architecture is diverse, but there are common markers across species in the Empire. A bioweapon could exploit these. Back on Varelia, General Sylar received a secure communication from an undercover operative in the Sol system, humanity's home. The message was encrypted, the words chilling. Humanity's preparations are more advanced than we feared. They possess not only the weapons, but the will to use them. As the gravity of the situation became apparent, General Sylar convened a holographic meeting with other military leaders of the Galactic Empire. The holograms flickered to life, casting eerie shadows across the dimly lit room, each leader appearing from their respective worlds, their faces marked with concern. We underestimated them, Sylar began, his tone more grave than usual. The humans are prepared to escalate to full-scale war. We must consider our next steps carefully. Do we bolster our defenses, initiate peace talks, or prepare for conflict? Across the virtual table, Admiral Yorick, a hardened veteran of numerous interstellar conflicts, leaned forward. Preparing for war might provoke them further, but if we do nothing, we risk appearing weak. Peace talks could be our best initial approach, but we must prepare for all eventualities. The leaders nodded in agreement, the decision heavy on their minds. War strategies were drawn, and diplomatic channels opened. The Galactic Empire was on high alert, the balance between peace and war hanging by a thread. In the shadows of these deliberations, secret pacts were formed, and alliances strengthened. The human threat had galvanized the Empire into action, but it also sowed seeds of distrust among its members. Some saw an opportunity in the chaos, a chance to advance their own agendas under the guise of unified defense. As the Empire braced for the uncertain, on Earth, Commander Kane watched the stars, aware of the storm her words had ignited. In the shadowed corridors of the Galactic Council's Intelligence Bureau, specialists scrambled to decode the latest transmissions intercepted from Earth. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anxiety and adrenaline as analysts pieced together the potential scope of humanity's military capabilities. Their findings would determine the Empire's next move. On Earth, at the Human Coalition's command center, a different kind of preparation was underway. Commander Kane, alongside her chief strategist, Marcus Phoenix, reviewed the deployment of their newly developed stealth cruisers, designed to evade the sophisticated sensor arrays of the Empire's border patrols. We need these ships in position before they even realize we've moved past their first line of defense, Marcus stated, pointing at a holographic map dotted with strategic points along the border. Our advantage lies in our ability to strike quickly and retreat before they can mount a counteroffensive. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Ambassador Threll, a seasoned diplomat of the Vuxtar species, landed on Earth under the flag of truce. His mission was delicate, to broker peace or at least stall for time as the Empire bolstered its defenses. The Earth's foreign ministry, a stark building with brutalist architecture, stood as the meeting point. Inside, negotiations began under high tension. Threll presented the Empire's proposal, which included cessation of hostilities, recognition of human sovereignty, and economic partnerships. The Galactic Empire wishes to avoid conflict, Threll conveyed, his voice smooth, designed to be calming. There's much we can achieve together, much more than in war. Commander Kane listened intently, her expression unreadable. She knew the offer was more out of fear and necessity than genuine respect. After a moment of silence, she replied, "We will consider your proposal, but know this, Ambassador. Any deception and the consequences will be immediate and dire. As Threll departed, uncertain of the outcome, the scene shifted back to the Galactic Council, where a secret session was underway. Here, the real politics played out far from public eyes. Leaders debated not just the proposal given to humanity, but also how they might secretly undermine human advances should the talks fail. In a dark room illuminated only by screens showing celestial data, a group of top military advisors gathered around General Seiler. "Our agents have infiltrated several human outposts," one advisor reported. "We have their attack plans, and we can sabotage their communications when the time comes." "Prepare the sabotage, but do not execute until my command," Seiler instructed, his mind racing through scenarios. The balance of power was delicate, and every action could tip the scales irreversibly. Back on Earth, Marcus Phoenix received a covert message from one of his spies within the Council. "They're planning a counterstrike disguised as a malfunction during our next big push," the message read. Marcus's jaw tightened as he forwarded the message to Commander Kane. The web of intrigue continued to thicken, with each side maneuvering both openly and in the shadows. Across the galaxy, fleets moved silently, their deadly cargo aimed at enemy worlds, waiting for the go or no-go orders. The universe held its breath, watching as two civilizations teetered on the brink of war, each waiting for the other to blink. In this high-stakes game of cosmic chess, every piece was critical, and every move was fraught with potential disaster. At the heart of Earth's Defense Command, the tension was palpable. Commander Kane stood before a massive digital display, observing the movements of both human and Empire forces. The silent blips on the screen represented a dance of potential destruction. Her communication link buzzed, signaling an incoming message from Marcus Phoenix, who was stationed on a cruiser hidden in the shadow of Jupiter's moons. "Commander, our stealth cruisers are in position, but we've detected an anomaly in Sector 47G. It looks like a hidden Empire fleet. Should we engage or pull back?" Marcus's voice was steady, but the underlying concern was clear. Kane weighed her options. "Hold position and monitor their movements. We cannot afford to strike without full certainty." Simultaneously, in a high-security meeting room on the capital ship of the Empire's Central Fleet, General Seiler reviewed reports of human fleet positions. The pieces were moving into place, yet each report brought more uncertainty. He turned to his advisors. "Ensure our fleets maintain cover. If the humans detect us prematurely, it could escalate into a conflict we're not prepared to manage yet." Elsewhere, Ambassador Threll returned to his ship, his mind racing with the day's discussions. The humans were cautious, their trust hard to gain. As his ship detached from the Earth station and began the journey back to Virelia, he transmitted his report. "The humans are considering the proposal, but their actions suggest they are prepared for either outcome. We must proceed with caution." Meanwhile, on a small, unassuming research outpost in the neutral zone, Dr. Lyra Malin had made a breakthrough. She had identified a potential flaw in the genetic weapon the humans might be developing. "If we modify our filtration systems to recognize and neutralize these specific genetic markers, we could potentially render their bioweapons ineffective," she explained to her team. This information, critical to the Empire's defense, was immediately encrypted and sent to the highest levels of the military command. Upon receiving Dr. Malin's findings, General Seiler ordered the immediate implementation of these modifications across key worlds, a move that would secretly safeguard many lives. Back on Earth, Kane convened her top advisors after receiving the latest updates from her intelligence team. The Empire was clearly playing a dual game of diplomacy and military preparedness. "We must be ready to strike at a moment's notice," she asserted. "But let's not close the door on negotiations yet. We need to buy more time to ensure our defenses are impenetrable." As the Empire and humanity continued their clandestine preparations, smaller factions within the Empire saw an opportunity to assert their agendas. On the trading moon of Gelnar, leaders of various minor systems met in secret. "The humans have shown that the Empire is not as invincible as it seemed. This is our chance to push for greater autonomy," one leader whispered fervently. These undercurrents of rebellion added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. As the Galactic Empire and humanity edged closer to a potential war, The political landscape shifted silently, setting the stage for changes that could alter the power dynamics within the Empire forever. In the deep void of space, silent and watchful, the fleets awaited their orders, ready to defend or attack. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, dependent on the decisions of a few powerful leaders. As the encrypted communications crisscrossed the galaxy, reaching the furthest outposts and the most secretive military installations, the tension on both sides intensified. In a secure room within Earth's Defense Command, Commander Kane reviewed the latest satellite imagery showing the movements of the Empire's fleet. Her advisors, a mixture of seasoned military veterans and sharp young strategists, debated the potential outcomes of either initiating a preemptive strike or strengthening their defenses. Increasing our surveillance capabilities should be our immediate priority, one of the strategists suggested. If we can intercept their communications, we might discover gaps in their armor. Kane nodded in agreement. Do it, and enhance our cyber units. If we can disrupt their command and control even for a few minutes, it could give us the edge we need. Meanwhile, aboard the Empire's flagship, now lurking in the shadow of a deserted asteroid field, General Seiler received a troubling report. A spy embedded within the human coalition had just transmitted data suggesting that Earth might be closer to deploying their new weapons technology than previously thought. "We need to reassess our strategy," Seiler murmured, his brow furrowed as he studied the star maps and intelligence reports spread out before him. If they are indeed this advanced, a direct confrontation could be catastrophic. We might need to strike first to prevent a greater disaster. In a stark contrast to the brewing storm of military maneuvers, diplomatic efforts continued, though with a sense of urgency and desperation. Ambassador Threll met with his counterparts from various allied species to discuss the possibility of forming a united front. "Unity is our strength," he insisted in the meeting, held via a secure interstellar communication link. "We cannot let human aggression divide us." As the diplomats strategized, scientists on both sides raced against time. Dr. Lyra Malin, having secured her laboratory against potential espionage, worked tirelessly on refining the genetic filtration system. Her latest experiments showed promise, but the real test would be in its deployment across diverse biological systems within the Empire. Simultaneously on Earth, a team of human scientists conducted a final test on a new form of energy shield, one that could potentially withstand the Empire's plasma weapons. The test was successful, but the real challenge was in mass production and deployment in time to make a difference. The undercurrents of unrest and rebellion among the minor systems within the Empire began to surface more openly. On Gelner, a secret assembly of dissident leaders shared intelligence on the Empire's vulnerabilities. "We must be ready to act," one of them declared. "The Empire's preoccupation with Earth gives us an unprecedented opportunity to assert our independence." These movements did not go unnoticed. Empire intelligence operatives, ever vigilant, reported the brewing descent to General Selar. "Keep them under surveillance," he ordered. "We cannot afford internal strife in the face of external threats. Prepare contingency plans to quell any uprising swiftly." As all these threads of military, diplomatic, scientific, and rebellious activities intertwined, the complex tapestry of galactic politics became even more fraught with potential triggers for conflict. Each leader, scientist, and strategist played their part, aware that their decisions could either prevent a catastrophic war or plunge their worlds into chaos. In the depths of space, the silence belied the frantic activities as the galaxy teetered on the brink, with every faction holding its breath, waiting for what the next moment might bring. In the strategic heart of Earth's Defense Command, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and resolve. Commander Kane stood surrounded by her core team, their eyes fixed on the large screens displaying the real-time positions of both human and Empire forces. A decision loomed large over them, the weight of potential war pressing down like the gravity of a neutron star. "We're at the precipice," Kane declared, her voice firm, cutting through the tense air. "If we are to act, it must be now. Our intelligence suggests the Empire is hesitant, divided. This could be our only chance to negotiate from a position of strength." Back on the Empire's flagship, General Seiler convened an urgent meeting with his top commanders and advisors. The latest reports indicated a possible split among the Empire's allies, with several minor systems showing signs of unrest. "We must stabilize our ranks," he asserted. "An internal division could be more devastating than any external attack. Prepare to launch a show of force in the rebel sectors." Amid these military preparations, Ambassador Threll arrived on Earth for what might be the final round of negotiations. His shuttle landed under heavy escort, a stark symbol of the fraught relations between humanity and the Empire. He was met by a diplomatic contingent, their expressions guarded but courteous. In the negotiation room, Threll presented a revised proposal, one that promised more substantial concessions from the Empire, including technological partnerships and a mutual defense pact against external threats. "This is a genuine offer to forge a path to peace," Threll insisted, laying out the detailed terms on the table before Commander Kane. Kane reviewed the document, her mind racing through scenarios and potential traps. After a long pause, she looked up, meeting Threll's gaze. "And what of the human colonies currently under threat from Empire expansion? What guarantees do we have for their safety?" "We are prepared to withdraw our forces from those areas immediately," Threll replied, sensing the critical nature of this concession. "And we will include a non-aggression clause to protect them for generations." As these negotiations were underway, deep in the research facilities of the Empire, Dr. Lyra Malin made a critical breakthrough. She had developed a countermeasure to the human-designed bioweapon, a serum that could be distributed throughout the Empire. She transmitted her findings to General Sylar, who received the news with a mixture of relief and urgency. With this new security against biological threats, Sylar felt confident enough to support Threll's diplomatic efforts. He sent a secured message to the negotiation team. "Proceed with the peace proposal. Ensure it includes strong verification mechanisms. We must trust but verify every step of the way." The talks extended deep into the night, both sides painstakingly hashing out each detail, aware that the stakes could not be higher. Finally, as dawn broke over the skyline of Earth's capital, a tentative agreement was reached. The treaty was comprehensive, addressing points of contention and opening new avenues for cooperation. Commander Kane and Ambassador Threll signed the treaty with a sense of cautious optimism. As they shook hands, the news was broadcast across the galaxy, heralding a potential new era of peace and cooperation between humanity and the Galactic Empire. In the days that followed, fleets were recalled and forces stood down. The minor systems, witnessing the Empire's commitment to peace, slowly retracted their declarations of independence, though their desire for autonomy remained, simmering beneath the surface. The galaxy, for now, breathed a sigh of relief. Conflict had been averted through a combination of diplomacy, strategic brinkmanship, and a shared realization that in the vast, star-filled cosmos, cooperation was the surest path to survival.